Well, we are back with Whether or Not and to What Degree podcast. I'm First Alert Chief Meteorologist Kendra. And if you're like me, you've probably been suffering from allergies. So we've brought an expert on today, Jennifer Kujawski, to tell us a little bit more about pollen season. I know you've been working in this field for a while. Just wanted to give a little bit of background about you. But first off, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Jennifer, you're from Massachusetts, but you've lived in the upstate for 19 years. You and I have that in common because I moved here in 2008. So we've been here, and it obviously sucked us in. We love the area. We haven't left. And you've been with Allergic Disease and Asthma Center for 15 years. You handle a lot of the pollen counts and pollen reporting. Your lead triage on the phone line a lot of times, lead triage nurse, and extract lab specialist. So you work in all of this all the time.
Everything.
And I'm sure this is your high season. So my first question to you is, what is it like to work in an area like this that is known as one of the pollen capitals of the United States?
It can be hectic on some days, especially when the weather is just right and it's just those perfect conditions for the pollen. It can be crazy, but it's a lot of fun.
Oh, I bet it can.
I think our patients appreciate us being here for them.
Oh, absolutely. It keeps things interesting, I'm sure. And I'm imagining that your busiest season is probably right now, but there's also, I imagine, a secondary season during the fall, correct?
Yeah, we tend to see it year-round. Spring, right now, we're dealing with all the tree pollen, so we do have a lot of new patients that are coming into us because they weren't having issues during the winter. And as soon as that pollen hits, we get a lot more patients, but then grasses are going to come out in the summer. We're going to see ragweed in the fall. So we pretty much stay busy most of the year.
Well, yeah, and obviously you deal with other things than grass and ragweed and everything else. Pet allergies, all kind of allergens that you're dealing with. But the one thing that's top of mind for everybody right now is the tree pollen. And I know you've been sending those updates mentioning, too, that grass is also on the rise right now. And I think many of us are kind of noticing.
We have been seeing a lot of grass. Yes, absolutely.
Is that a little
We're seeing it grow in the yard, and it's definitely out.
I was wondering, is it a little early for grass pollen to be up for this time of year?
It can be, but as soon as that warmer weather starts and everything starts to grow, we will see a little bit of it here and there. It'll hit a little bit harder around June. That's when we're going to see the mostly grass.
Gotcha.
But it does start, weeds and grasses we're going to start seeing, just smaller increments of them.
So there are just so many offenders out there right now.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
I mentioned that we are one of the pollen capitals of the United States. And, just from what I understand of it, I imagine it's because we are so heavily wooded. We have so many trees here. But, is that the main reason that we have the issues? Do the mountains factor into any of that?
Yes, both of those things. Greenville it's very green, very heavily forested landscape, plus the mountain's not far from us. And in the perfect condition, pollen is very lightweight. It can travel hundreds of miles.
Right.
So we really do get quite a bit of it where we're at.
Yeah, and we have those cold fronts that'll come in out of the northwest, and I imagine pulling in, all kinds of the forests in the mountains, probably releasing tons of pollen that gets pushed into the upstate and then it settles in here. So not only do we have our own trees to deal with, but then we get it from other areas. So always fun.
Yes, exactly.
I tell you, you send out some detailed reports to us, and we really appreciate that because we can pass along to viewers, what certain pollens, because maybe they've come in and they've had testing and they know that oak pollen is their big sensitivity, or maybe some other one. What are some of the worst for folks? Because I know that they vary in size and all kinds of stuff.
Yes. So right now we're seeing mostly pine and oak and birch. Those are probably our biggest ones in this area. That we'll see for the spring. Sweet gum and birch sometimes can fluctuate between one or the other, but those are the biggest culprits right now. And then, like I was saying before, summertime, we're going to get all the grasses, the fall, the ragweed is the big one. But yeah, pine, oak, birch, those are the top offenders right now.
Yeah, and I know that pine tends to be one of the bigger ones. So I think that's what we're kind of seeing all over our cars and decks. Right?
Yeah. It is much larger of a pollen grain compared to a lot of the other pollens. It can be up to 5 times larger than some of them, and the pine is what contributes to that yellow color that we see everywhere.
Oh, it's just
and even and from some of my research, I've even found it's the loblolly pine that tends to be the brightest yellow and give us all that color that we're seeing. Oh. And there's a lot of loblolly pines in the southeast area of the United States. So
I'll have to look that one up because I don't know if I'd be able to identify a loblolly, but I'm sure there are plenty around here.
Absolutely, yes.
And I was I was thinking as I was looking at your reports, as we see that the pine pollen seems to be trending. And again, this was filmed on April 1st, so you may be listening to this a few days later. But as of April 1st, pine numbers had come down just a little bit. It seems like as that one goes down, might be the better time for folks to start thinking about washing their decks and their cars. Because I'm one that I like to wait until it's just about done to really start cleaning. Because there's nothing more frustrating than washing off your deck or power washing, and then 2 days later it's all yellow again.
It's back again, yes. And the weather's going to help with that too. Hopefully we'll get some rain soon, and that will help to calm a lot of the pollen down.
Yeah.
We won't see as much of it then.
Yeah, rain really is key. And the fact that we've been in a drought lately, a couple of weeks leading up to this, that just aggravates the situation. I feel like just a mix of the pollen and just the dirt and dust that gets blown around. I mean, it's probably driving everybody crazy. So with that in mind, is there, other than just not going outside, what kind of advice would you give folks that are really suffering right now from the tree pollen?
Absolutely, yes. There's other things that can be done. I would say the trees tend to release their pollen early in the morning. So waiting until after 10 a.m., you'll have a little less exposure. It's still going to be out there, but you won't get that hard burst of fresh pollen being released if you wait till after 10 a.m. to go outside. Early in the morning is definitely going to be the worst. And if you are outside, when you come in, leave your shoes at the door or outside. Make sure you're changing your clothes, shower, wash that all off of yourself, because pollen can be very waxy, sticky, and it's going to cling to your hair, your clothes, your skin. So you want to make sure that you're washing that off so you're not in constant contact with it and constant exposure. Keeping your windows closed, riding with your car windows up. I know that's no fun, but it does help limit that exposure. HEPA filters, air purifiers, and just changing the filters out in your home. If you have pets that go outdoors, make sure you're wiping them down as well, because it's going to be stuck on their fur and they're going to lay on the floor of the furniture, and you're just going to keep getting exposed.
Yeah, no, that's great. A lot of good advice. And as the kids would say, I was today years old when I found out about the pollen bursting in the morning. I really didn't realize that. So that's great advice, that if you're sensitive to a lot of this, if you really want to take that outdoor walk, probably best to do it in the late afternoon, evening, as opposed to first thing in the morning.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, well, that's great advice. Well, we appreciate you being with us today. And again, I know it's your busy season, so carving out time to discuss pollen, but I will continue to show your reports on our newscast and talk about the weather that influences it, because thankfully we are heading into a wetter pattern. Again, filming or taping this on the 1st of April. So if you're watching a month from now, this won't apply necessarily. But yes, we're hopeful for more rain. But Jennifer from ADAC, thank you again for joining us today on the podcast.
Thank you.